How long are you going to be a single old man? This is what my ex-wife said to me after 15 years. 15 years ago, she disappeared with my brother. I had noticed that my brother and his ex-wife were getting along really well, but I never thought they were in love. From the day they disappeared, I could not recover for a while. Then my ex-wife and brother suddenly appeared in front of me after 15 years. I gave a talk of the past 15 years to my ex-wife, who was making fun of me. I couldn't help but laugh at the despair on their faces as they listened to my story. It took a long time, but it was the moment I finally got back at them. My name is Ethan. I am 43 years old, and there is one thing I will never forget. I was 25 years old when I got married. My wife Claire and I were sitting next to each other in our first class at the university. I still remember how Claire, who came from a rural area, talked to me with her dialect. Claire is a very bright and friendly person. Even though I was shy, we soon became friends and started dating in the summer of our first year of college. For me, Claire was my first girlfriend. Claire is in all my memories of my 4 years of college. We had a lot of fights, but we never broke up and continued our relationship even after we entered the workforce. Claire quickly became friends with her bosses and peers at work, and they had drinking parties every day. The company I worked for was a small one with few drinking parties, so I did not have any peers like that. It was a good place for me to work because there was no overtime work, but to be honest, I often felt lonely. However, if I was worried about something, Claire would always leave the drinking party and come to see me. "Don't worry, I'm with you," she always told me, smelling of alcohol. I think it was because of those moments that we were able to stay together for so long. We have been together for 7 years. I proposed on her birthday and we are now married. Although we had been together for a long time, we had never lived together before, so it was a new experience for us to live together. We rented an apartment in the middle of the city, right between our companies. I had lived at home all my life, and I did my best to learn how to do the housework for my mom. Claire refused to go out for drinks then, and came home early to eat the meals I cooked for her. "I am so glad I married you." Claire would always say this jokingly after we finished eating. Our honeymoon life, which was like an extension of our love life, made me so happy. Just around that time, my younger brother Joe, who was going to college in a rural area, came back to our hometown to find a job. My brother was the complete opposite of my personality. He was not shy at all, and had been quite popular since his school days. He went to the same high school as me, and our house is within walking distance from my parents' house, so I was asked many times by girls who had a crush on him to give them his contact information. My father and mother divorced when we were in junior high school, so my mother and brother live alone. We had dinner with Claire several times a month at my parents' house, and my mom and brother often came to our house to visit us. Claire has a friendly personality, so she and my mother and brother got along very quickly. 2 years after we got married, my brother quit the company he joined after graduating and started coming to our house in his spare time. Probably because my mother had nagged him to work if he stayed at home all the time. Sometimes he would come home when we finished work, have dinner with us, and go home at night. And sometimes he would stay over for a few days, saying he had a fight with Mom. Claire and my brother got closer day by day. "Big bro, these carrots aren't cooked." I thought so too. "You are a little careless, Ethan. You're not very thorough." "I know. He's been like that since we were little. He did all his homework that he did over the summer, but would forget to bring it with him." That's so like Ethan. There were times when they would tease me in such a friendly manner. They seemed to be having a good time, but I didn't feel very good about it. My brother did not get a job still, while Claire and I have been married for 3 years now. Claire and I had stopped being lovers. Ethan, you're looking fat these days. You used to be so much better looking, you know. Claire also started to make insensitive comments to me. When we were newlyweds, I didn't think anything of it because I was doing the best I could, but Claire never did any housework. She took it for granted that I would do it. I loved Claire so much that I wanted to do anything for her, but now I have nothing but frustration. Another frustration is that she is too close to my brother. I think it's good that they get along, but when he is home, they often do idle chat happily while I do the housework. They are very close to each other, so that some people might think that they are lovers. They may not have meant to offend me, but I was frustrated because I felt that if they had time to talk, they could have helped me a little. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, Claire was leisurely watching TV. "Aren't you going to get ready? You're going to be late." "I'm taking a day off today to go to the amusement park with Joe. Didn't I tell you?" She says this with a nonchalant look on her face. Of course. She hadn't told me anything. "What? What do you mean? You never told me anything. You and Joe? Why not me?" I got angry and questioned Claire. It's been a year since she's used her paid leave to go on a date with me. "Don't be so angry. I'll get you some souvenirs anyway. I mean, you better get going or you'll be late." Claire looked at me angrily and forced me to go to work. The whole day was a blur and I couldn't concentrate on my work. I don't mind her being friendly with my brother, but I don't understand why she would go out with him without me. I hurried home, but it seemed that they had not returned yet. I waited quietly by myself, not even bothering to prepare a meal. After a while, they came into the house, talking happily. "I'm home, big bro. I bought you some souvenirs." My brother happily handed me a keychain. "I don't want this. Why did you go out together? I don't understand," I said without accepting the keychain. "Come on, Joe did his best to pick it out. Don't you feel sorry for him? You should take it." "I was going to invite you too, but you said you don't like amusement parks much." He puts on a sad face. "That's not the point. I don't understand the nerve of you two going together," I shouted. "That's why we didn't ask you out. You just make the atmosphere worse." For some reason, Claire is upset with me. I thought there was no point in talking anymore, so I went to the bedroom without saying a word. I couldn't forgive her for going out with him, but I also couldn't forgive Claire for being upset with me. I think I stayed there for hours, but Claire never came to the bedroom. I did not hear them talking outside the room, so my brother might have gone home. I went to bed and woke up in the morning with little sleep. I felt awkward to see Claire, so I left the house early in the morning and went to work. I was angry with Claire, but I couldn't fight with her forever. When I get home, we will have a good talk about my brother and our future as husband and wife. Today I will go home and make Claire's favorite food and we will make up. But when I got home, I saw something terrible. On the dining room table, I found some divorce papers and a letter left for me. The letter was written in my wife's handwriting. "Thank you for everything. I will live with Joe from now on. Goodbye." And in my brother's handwriting, "I'm sorry. Don't look for us, okay?" I didn't notice that I had dropped the supermarket bag on the floor, and I couldn't move for a while. I think hours had already passed. Then I received a phone call from my mother. "Ethan, I just got a strange phone call from Joe." She wasn't clear on what it was about, but she seemed to be in a panic. She said that my brother had called her just a few minutes ago to tell her that he would not be home for a while. When I told her what had happened, she was at a loss for words. She was worried about me and came to the house immediately. She hugged me as I was crying. She couldn't stop crying for a long time too. She stayed by my side until morning. My mother and I both took the day off from work and called Claire and my brother several times. They never answered my calls, and after a few times they blocked my calls. I also called Claire's company, but to my surprise, she resigned the day before yesterday. The day before yesterday was when Claire and my brother went to an amusement park. Maybe they had already decided to elope for a long time. For a while after that, I honestly don't remember anything. I couldn't go to work anymore and had to resign from my job. I don't know what I would have done if my mother had not been there for me. It took me a long time, but I was able to recover. I will never forget that day, no matter how many years pass. 15 years have passed since then. One day, I was having lunch with my mother at home when the intercom rang. My mother went to the front door. "What?" I rushed to the door and found my brother and Clara standing there.
"Mom, big row. Long time no see, huh? This house hasn't changed over the years."
My younger brother Joe says so cheerfully. My mother used to tell me that we might never see them again. She was speechless with surprise, anger, and joy at seeing her son for the first time in a long time. "Don't say long time no see. How could you come home with such an indifferent look on your face?" When I said that. "You haven't changed, huh? You're still angry. How long are you going to be a single old bachelor?" Claire, who was standing next to him, said to me with a foolish look on her face, "What? Don't you know? Then I'll tell you about the last 15 years. I replied with a snicker. They seemed to be surprised to see me looking relaxed and not hurt by Claire's words. I was no longer the weak man I had been back then. I sat them down at the dining table. "Well, sit down anyway. It's going to be a long talk, so be prepared." Claire and my brother did as they were told and sat down in their chairs, with mixed expressions on their faces. First of all, I am not single. I have a wife who is many times better than Claire. As soon as I started to speak, "Don't lie! You only live here. What are you talking about?" "She's just not here because she's out of the country right now for a business trip." "Do you want to see some pictures?" "You can say whatever you want. Don't push yourself. You don't look good." I ignore Claire's words and show her a picture of my wife. Isn't she beautiful? Her face, her personality, her income. Claire has nothing to beat her. My wife, whom I married 5 years ago, is a business owner with a face as good as any actor's. She's kind and considerate. She's willing to do the housework even though she's busy with her work. On my days off, she makes me some snacks and I'm happiest when we have a drink at home. What the hell? You're telling me that you spent 15 years trying to find a marriage partner? I'm with Joe now that you and I broke up, so I don't think anything of it.
Don't brag about your happiness. We're happy too.
How can they say that after what they did to me 15 years ago? But that's not all I want to talk about, I said, and they looked a little disappointed. 15 years ago, after you left, I was so depressed that I couldn't work. I couldn't eat or sleep. When I started to talk about it, my mother started to cry aloud next to me. I'm sorry. I remembered Ethan back then. I soothed her back. Thanks to Mom, I managed to get better. It took a while, though, but I had one goal in mind. That was, I'm going to be many times happier than you guys. Then Claire interrupted me again. I know what you're talking about. You've been working hard on your marriage, haven't you? I'm thirsty. Offer me a cup of tea or something. When she tried to stand up, Why should we serve tea to you? My mother shouted. Surprised, Claire sat down silently. So you see, I started to run my own company. I have studied a lot, and although it started out as a small company, we have decided to go public. I put my business card in front of them. They didn't say anything. Oh, I don't know if you can tell by just looking at the company name. Claire, you were fired from your job, weren't you? What? How did you know? Claire looked surprised. Because the biggest customer of the company you worked for is my company. The president of the company is very good to me. He even listens to me about my difficulties. What? That's why he suddenly fired me. Don't be ridiculous. I worked hard for 15 years and became a department manager, and now Claire is banging on my desk and getting mad at me. I've told all the presidents of the other companies in your area, so it might be difficult to get a new job, I said with a smile. By the way, why did you come back today? Claire and my brother turned red.
Claire can't find a job. It's your fault, so you have to pay for that.
We came here to borrow money because we can't find a job because of you. She said these embarrassing things without hesitation. 15 years ago, after they disappeared, my mother and I went to a detective agency to find out where they were. We soon found out where they lived and Claire's new place of employment. It turned out that the contract for the house and the job search for the new employer were done shortly before they left. I guess they had been planning the timing of their elopement for a long time. I became desperate and sick with each new revelation. I talked with my mother and decided to stop finding them and demanding alimony and to live my own life. After my health improved, I worked as hard as I could with the motivation of looking back at the two of them. I studied a lot and started running my own company. While I was selflessly running the company, I found myself spending less and less time thinking about the two of them. I met my current wife at an inter-industrial conference where we went to learn about business management. When the company got on track, we signed a contract with a certain company. My subordinate found this company, but I thought I had heard the name before. At that time, I didn't realize it was the company Claire worked for. It had been bothering me for a long time, but one day, I remembered it. When I went to greet them, I found out that she was also a female president and a former schoolmate. When I told her about Claire, she became very angry. She said that she had asked her about Claire. I found out that Claire had been harassing many female employees. The president of the company was upset, saying that she could not notice it because Claire was loved by the executives because of her natural friendliness. Rather, she thanked me for having made her aware of it. She said that there were many employees who had not been able to speak up because she was in a managerial position. The number of employees who spoke out led to a big problem, and Claire was fired. The president of the company was a very capable person, and she talked to other companies in the same industry that she was connected to, and told them not to hire this person. She told me that since she has a wide circle of contacts, the rumor would spread quickly in the local area where they live. My younger brother has never worked since then and has just been lazing around. I knew that they would be in trouble because of the lack of money, but I did not expect them to come to my parents' house to ask for help. Maybe they didn't expect me to be there, but I would never lend you money. What kind of nonsense are you talking? I'd rather ask you for alimony. It's all your fault. No, it's not my fault. It's all your fault, including what happened 15 years ago. After I say that,
Joe, you are not my son anymore. You are responsible for what you did. Don't come to our house any more.
My mother said in tears, and they left the house as if they were being chased by someone. After they left, my mother said to me,
I'm so happy that we can finally get over this. Ethan, you don't have to think about them anymore. You're happy now, but something has been holding you back. You have to live your life to the fullest now.
She hugged me. I felt as if something that was stuck somewhere in my heart was finally released. Hearing my mother's words, I began to cry as well. Claire's parents died early and she is an only child, so she has no family. I have told everything to the company that Claire had left me 15 years ago, and all of our mutual friends from college know about it. They have few friends they can rely on anymore. I don't know what will happen to the two of them, but I am sure that they will not be able to live as happy a life as before. I, on the other hand, am happy every day. Life with my wife and running my company are going well. My mother is turning 65 and will be retiring from the company where she worked for many years. I'm planning to take her on a trip to Europe, which she has always wanted to do. When I told my mother about it, she was as happy as a child. I am more than glad to see the happy faces of people around me, including my mother, my current wife, and my employees. I would like to continue to live my life taking good care of those around me.